For today's video, we're going to be covering some Runeblades, so we're going to be doing Florian and Chane. Florian, I actually think is pretty cool in Silver Age, the same reason that Verdance is. Them only needing 4 Earth cards and Banish means that you can get online with just 2 decomposes. And Florian has a real simple hero power. It's just once it's online, whenever you would make 1 or more aura tokens, instead you create that many +1, so you just double up on everything. That works really well with Runeblade, because Runeblade attacks for 1, you pay 2 for it, but if you put in a non-attack, it gets +3, so it comes in on that breakpoint of 4, but when it hits, it makes a rune chant token. So we're kind of synergizing the deck build around that. So for our equipment suite, we have Blossom of Spring because we do have some 1-drop auras, and you can just play them and not have to worry about curving out with anything else. We have this for blocking, the helm, and then we have Runehold Release. This is pretty cool because in the end game, yeah, I'm putting this in air quotes, it's gonna be like turn 2 or whatever, but just like once your hero's online, you can pop this and get 2 rune chants instead of 1. Our deck list here is kind of focused around a lot of generation and auras with Go Again. You want auras with Go Again, specifically non-attacks. That way you can turn on your Runeblade, so this deck curves out really well. So you can do things like you pitch a blue, you play Harvest Season, and then you swing your Runeblade for 4, and the next turn the Harvest Season is going to pop. You can also do things like Strong Yield, where you play it, you send your Runeblade for 4, and then next turn it pops, you can play like, you know, the Harvest Season line or whatever, and then your Runeblade comes in for 7. So the deck synergizes a lot with the weapon. When you're not sending the weapon though, you're going to be sending attacks, right? And these attacks are going to be cards like Red Autumn's Touch is just, you know, a block 3 Earth card. But Blossoming Decay and Cadaverous Tilling are how we are decomposing. So you're going to want to play these, that way you can decompose. Blossoming gets you that 1 life, Cadaverous gets you that +2. And then another cool attack card that we get to play is actually Stir the Wildwood. This is just like probably a pet card of mine, but I just love this card from Aria Limited. With an Earth Fusion, if it is fused, it gets +2, so it comes in at 7, but if you've also dealt arcane damage, it gets +2. So this potentially becomes a 2 for 9, which is very, very good. And you have a lot of ways to make rune chants in this deck. I mean, at the very least, you have the Runehold Release, and into certain aggro decks, I can't AB, you will always get the damage clause on this, so it can be a very powerful card. And then some other rune chant generation cards are going to be cards like Malefic. This works to turn on Runeblade, but then can also be worth, you know, like, let's say, 6 rune chants, hypothetically, if your hero is online. Runeblood Incantation, for the same reasons, we just want to make rune chants, because when Florian is online, these all get doubled up and they're incredibly powerful, but this also curves out with the Runeblade, Arcane Season Life, just for more rune chant generation. And then Bramble Spark is actually just really, really solid. So you can play this infused with the Earth attack you're about to send, or you can infuse it with your Earth Blue, but this is basically 0 for 4 with Go Again, speeds up the clock a lot, especially in Silver Age. And then basically everything else here is like a blue block 3 or a blue Earth card. So we have a bunch of Earth cards, or, you know, cards like Blue Stir or Blue Vexing Mouse to close out the game. The blues are mainly just utility. You never really want to resolve them, but we try to pick blues that are good enough that if you have to, it's good enough to win you the game. And then our sideboard is 1 Oasis with a Null Rune package into Arcane Heroes. I think that this deck is mid-rangey enough that you actually want the Oasis over something like Polarity. That could be wrong, but I think that you actually do have the capability of pitching a lot. Polarity, in my mind, is really good in aggro decks where you're not pitching, and so you get a 0 for 4 to keep racing with them. But in a more mid-range deck like this, I think that Oasis can potentially be better. On the Horizon against aggro, Summer's Fall against aura-based decks, and Immovable against tall decks. And so overall, that's a list. With that, we will go ahead and jump into a game. So we got a game in Goliath here. We chose to go first. This deck has a lot of really good turn 1 equity. You get to do like very dumb stuff with like Strong Yield, Harvest Season, Discordant Fruits, Arcane Seeds. I think this is like one pretty clear example. So like we just get an incredible high roll going first. We also, I guess, kind of deny the Goliath player a turn 1 equity, although they're going to get edge of their seats, so they're going to get what, a ton of value anyway. They actually might have come out more ahead than us, ironically. Could either send the Tilling or we could send the Stir. Sending the Stir means that we probably block with one of the incants. We play an incant, we play the Stir, we fuse with the Cadaverous. Yeah, that seems like the most efficient. It's a little bit awkward because we don't have... Oh, okay, they're sending Mocking Blow. Oh, I guess if we keep Blossom though, we can also play the incant. Yeah, let's try it. Let's try just taking 5 here. Okay, that was all they did with their hand, so actually it's kind of okay. So we get both of our Strong Yields. The question is, do we want to pop the Runehold? If you pop the Runehold, they have to pay. If they don't pay, then the Stir gets the extra damage. That might actually be kind of solid here. We'll go ahead and use Blossom, and then we're going to go ahead and play everything out here. Play Stir, fuse with our Tilling. The only thing is that if we blocked with one of the incants, we could have decomped on this turn. So that's the only thing I'm not super happy with about this playline. They take the 1 arcane, which means that this actually comes in for 15, which is pretty nuts. But they're not blocking with any cards, so I wonder if we just lose. Man, this format's crazy. Okay, they play Polarity. It's good. They get life back. We're going to go ahead and Arsenal Artillion. This hand is good if we had a Rune Chance. We don't, though, unfortunately. We lose a Malefic. That's fine. We weren't going to block with that card anyway. Activate Lyeth. Okay. And this is all very strong. Okay, yeah, 16 is a lot. 16 is a lot. So we're going to go and block with the Canopy Shelter. Is there anything else we want to do? Oh, we could pitch to play the Reduce. I don't think I want to do that. So instead, yeah, we're just going to go ahead and go down to, what, 2-1 here. Wow, okay. What a play. We're going to go ahead, play the Malefic. The Malefic will be nice, though, because it'll leave Rune Chance in the back, so we don't need to actually pitch to play the Reduce. So they can just go to 1. This is very stupid. Okay. Put the Reduce in Arsenal. We lose our 3 block. That's bad. Illness Pose. Okay. All right. Oh my god. 16. Okay, we lose. Great. A game into Prism. We took the play, although we don't really get anything good here. So I think we have a couple different options. I'm kind of leaning towards actually just sending this Tilling just to like clear some 2 blocks on a hand and put an Earth card in the bin. That's pretty lame. Not really the biggest fan of it. It looks like I'm going to give my opponent some free filtering too, but it's what you got to do sometimes. This hand at least has some poppers. That's good. We could potentially pop, and then if we have enough card, nah, we don't, but I'll go ahead and pop this. I mean, that's really important. I mean, this is pretty huge, right? So do that. I just wanted to find a way to get another card engrave so I could actually decomp something, but that's not going to happen. So overall, not fantastic. I think we're just going to go ahead and maybe send Stir the Wildwood. I guess we could pop the Runehold and then at least threaten to send it for 7. We can also, yeah, still fuse. Yeah, this line works. We get a block for 6, so my opponent's probably just going to send a 1-card Herald play. Yeah, we're just going to go ahead and pop it. And this is all pretty good for us. We need to find a way to actually like start pushing some damage. I guess this will help us out here. We can go ahead and play the Incant, and then we can go ahead and send the Tilling. This will get us decomp number 1 out of the way. My opponent takes all the damage. We're going to unfortunately have to IP the On the Horizon. This hand is like good in quotations, kind of. All right, they're sending Spears. I think we're going to take this because we want to block the Herald that comes after. The Herald is probably going to have the more important on hit. Okay, it's Ravages. I'm just going to go ahead and block for 5 with the Helm. It feels kind of bad, but we're getting our life point back. The Helm is only blocking for 1. We're stopping an on hit for 1. We're stopping a Soul Generation, which is worth like 2. So the math ends up being worth it to take the line there. I'm going to go ahead and I guess play the Strong Yields. And then we're going to go ahead and send the Nebula Blade. If this connects, we know that we have Reduce on top of the deck, which is really important because if this hits and makes a Rune Chant, we're going to get to play the Reduce for free. Okay, it hits. That's huge. That's very big for us. But they're just going to play Haze Bending and pass. So we're just going to dump a bunch of damage at them. So we're going to go ahead and play the Harvest Season. This is currently coming in for 7, so it's already on a break point. Putting it up to 8 doesn't make a difference, so I guess I'm going to take the line where we're going to go ahead the Nebula Blade at the Prism, and then we're going to go ahead and discard the Fruits, and then Arsenal the Reduce. Get a block for 2 here. Okay, they're going to go to 3. We're going to discard Fruits, Arsenal Reduce, and pass. So they're going to get the on hit through. Not that it does matter. They're going to get a Spectral out of this, which is a pretty big deal. We're going to gain some life though, and our turn is just going to be playing the Stir the Wildwood Prism, fusing with Sotomara. We have 2 Rune Chants coming in, which is important because it means that the 1 Spectral does not cover it. So they would have to pitch a whole card to stop the +2. Okay, they do that. But we're still coming in for 5 here, which is good. They could block with 1 card and use a Radiant though, so they could sidestep having to give like 2 cards here. I think they could also, technically, they could give a Radiant and a Spectral and just go to 1. I don't know if they will take that line, but they could hypothetically do that. Looks like they're just going to use a 2 block here. Okay, so they're going to cover 5 between everything, but we're happy we got a 2 block out of this. Our hand plays pretty well, actually. So we're just going to go ahead and pop. And then we're going to send the Tilling. The Tilling puts us online, and then we get to discard the Fruits. We go back up to 18. All right, so we send our Tilling. Unfortunately, we never got online before our Malefic triggers were gone, so we missed out on some extra Rune Chants. Prisms get to block with 2 cards. We're going to discard Fruits. We go back up to 18. It's all pretty solid stuff. This hand, doesn't really do anything. I guess we can play the Sotomorrow and just look for a blue. We could put a Summer Swell back in the deck, actually. Let's see if we hit a blue here. Okay, we greeted, we didn't get there. We at least get to play Arcane Seeds Life, though. That's actually really solid. We end up with 5 Rune Chance. We could play a Harvest Season, or we could play the Malefic. There's all kinds of interesting things to do here. I guess I'm leaning more towards just sending the Stir. I mean, like, we can just go ahead and just infuse with the Harvest Season. And that means that we're probably leaking 1 over. If they have a non-block here, then we win the game, which is possible because I've already seen 1 Angelic Wrath. Okay, so not dead yet. This hand is crazy, though. I think my opponent just lost, so we're going to go ahead and play Arcane Seeds Life. We'll go ahead and I guess play the Harvest Season. The question is, do we want to Condemn to Slaughter and then send the Nebula Blade? Nah, none of this matters. Let's just go 8-face. 8-face should wrap this up. All right, my opponent decides to scoop here. So Chane is incredibly complex. I'm still having trouble like kind of nailing how I want this deck to be built. So if you have recommendations, I'm all ears. I have reworked it a couple times, but we ended up on a more Runegate focused version of the deck. So Chane makes a Soul Shackle per turn. And when you do this, you're going to give your next Runeblade or Shadow action go again. The Shackles are basically upside for the deck. They're going to let you like pseudo draw cards because at the beginning of your action phase, you banish the top card of your deck for every single Soul Shackle you have. So imagine you have 5 Soul Shackles, you banish the top 5 cards of your deck at the start of your turn. That sounds really scary until you realize that the entire point of your deck is that it's all cards that can be played from your banish. So you have cards like Bounding Demigod, Shadow Blood deck cards that are able to be played straight out of your banish, means that you basically get extra card draw as the game goes later. This lets you basically play like a pseudo combo deck. But the other powerful thing is the fact that the Chane power itself is giving you go again. So not only is the hero text really good, I mean, like you are giving anything you want to play go again, but it's also drawing you cards. So Chane has a very broken hero text, and we're trying to exploit it the best that we can. So we are playing all these Runegate cards. So we have cards like, like Deathly Whale, Deathly Delight, Phantom Wraith. These cards with this Runegate clause where when we have enough Rune Chance, we can play them for free from banish. This is exactly the same as Vincent, so if you have played Vincent, you'll know how this works. And so the point of this is that we can make some Rune Chance and then play these Runegate cards from banish for free, and then we can give them go again with Chane's ability. So some of these Rune Chance generators are going to be cards like Runeblood Incantation or Malefics or Envelop in Darkness, and then we also have Read the Runes, which can be very good because you can give this go again with Chane's ability. So you could activate Chane, play Read the Runes with go again, and then go ahead and play your Runegate cards. So it's incredibly powerful in this deck compared to something like Vincent. Also have Spellblade Assault for the same reason. You can give this go again, so you can play Spellblade Assault, make 2 Rune Chance, and then play a Runegate card. We have some blues that are able to be played from banish, so cards like Putrid Stirrings and Unhallowed Rites. Beseech the Demigod just lets you convert a bunch of damage from your banish zone, basically. And then I'm trying out Nebula Blade as a way to, similar to Flail of Agony, try to carry over Rune Chance, because I think it just helps the deck curve out a little bit easier with the Runegate stuff. It could be that you just need to play Reaping Blade, but I at least wanted to try it. And then very similar to Vincent, we're playing, Suckcliff, so that way we can, go like triple rune gaining if we really need to, just to play for those powerful endgame combos. We have Runehold Release once again to help us get to that threshold to play some Runegate cards, and then Ebb and Flow lets us kind of stack up in our banish really quickly. Ghostly Visit was another card I didn't mention before, but just really easy. You can just play this as a 1-for-4 with go again from your banish, really clean stuff. And then we have Soul Reaping, which is our legendary specialization, which we get to play in Silver Age because it's a rare. When you draw this, you win most of your games, and when you banish this, then you actually have to play a real game. So the main hope is that you're going to draw this every single time, but then you can banish 1 or more cards from your hand rather than pay its cost. So normally it costs 6, but if you just banish a card, it's free. And then you gain resources for each card with Blood Debt that you banish this way. It's just a really absurd card. And, you're going to activate Chane and give this go again. So you could banish a bunch of, Runegate cards from your hand, gain resources when you play your Soul Reaping. And maybe that gives you the resources to activate Suckcliffs or play like an Envelop in Darkness, get your Rune Chance. And then you can, play 1 Runegate card with go again, pop the Suckcliffs, do something else if you want to play, a finisher, swing Nebula Blade, whatever. This card just does really powerful stuff. And for our inventory, we have another copy of Deathly Whale. We have Howl from Beyond. These can be good into decks that are trying to fatigue you, where you're able to have this extra +4 sit in the banish for when you need to push for a really big combo turn. Sigil is suffering an aggro, time snap into fatigue decks as well as slow matchups in general, where you can sculpt these really insane endgame turns between Howl and time snap. You can go potentially up to like 3 or 4 things wide if you really want to. It just helps you like have these like one shots in the endgame basically. And then we have some Arcane Barrier 3 specifically. And then maybe board down here, I had Putrid Historians as a 3 for 5, kind of similar to Howl, but I think Howl is just a little bit cleaner. Playing an Acilio here, we decided to go second. Looks like the Acilio is getting quite a bit of setup on turn 1. We could potentially actually activate the Epenfold to start with a card in our banish. I kind of like that idea, but the only issue is that we don't really have a Runechant generator, so I don't really think it works how we want it to. So our turn is probably just going to be activating Chane here just to get us a shackle. And then I guess we have the option, if we really want to, we could pop Blossom and send the Nebula Blade. That's interesting. I'm going to lean towards no for this turn. All right, we get a block for 6. That's good at least. This hand's actually very good. We're able to Soul Reaping away the Bounding Demigod. When we activate Chane, that'll also give this go again, at which point we can play something like Malefic, and then play the Bounding Demigod from Banish. We could also crack Blossom and play Runeblade Incant as well. Overall, I think this is pretty solid. It looks like the Sigil banishes a Snatch off the top, not a non-attack, so that's good for us. They're going to make a Ponder, but definitely not getting the extra card draw on the Sigil is very important here. They're going to play Flittering Charge. I'm not going to bother blocking this. It's probably something like Lightning Press, but that's okay. Okay, looks like it's another Ponder Sigil. That's okay with me. And it's an Etchings. Okay, they're gonna be able to Volzar here. So do we Spell Void this? I guess we probably do. I don't want them to get back like another Temporal Sigil and just potentially high roll us. So I guess I might as well just cash this in now. And for our turn, we'll go ahead and activate Chane. Looks like we banished a Deathly Whale. We can't play it though, which is a little bit awkward. We could, I guess, banish multiple cards, but it doesn't really make any sense to me. We'll go ahead and just banish our Bounding. Okay, so we get a block for 3 here. That's okay. What's pretty sweet about this is because of the resource, we get to play the Incant without even having to use Blossom here. So we're gonna play the Incant, we'll play Malefic, and then I guess we could push this up to 7 if we really want to, but I mean, we're gonna play it next turn anyway, so I think it's probably okay just to send it like this. We end the turn on, I believe, 2. Well, we technically end the turn on 1 Runechant. Next turn, we get Incant trigger up to 2, and then we have Runehold, so we can go to 3. So we know that we can play the Deathly Whale next turn if we really need to. We're gonna block for 3. This is all good. I want my opponent to not combo me because I think that we're pretty close to just doing our huge combo push turn. So as long as my opponent is not, keeping 5 cards to blow up our life total, and they're at 12, I think we're in a good spot. This hand is not good though. Actually, well, there's an amendment on this. There is some good things about this hand. One good thing is that we have the Spellblade Assault. So we held our Besiege, which means that we could activate Suede Hides. So we could do something like send the Spellblade Assault with Chane. And then if we play the Besiege, then when we send our Rune Gate after, we could Suckless and then do one more thing, which I think would all be pretty solid. We're going to take 5 though from the Etchings, so that's a little scary. Start of our turn, we have all of our triggers. We only get 1 card in Banish. It's not a very good one. So we're going to go ahead and activate our Runehold here. We're going to pop our Beseech, and then we are going to target the Deathly Whale, activate Chane to give it go again. And then we're going to go ahead and play this from the Banish. This will have +3, so I mean, this could end up being pretty important actually because of the fact that we have Suckless open. So we could do something like send Spellblade, and then we could close the Chane after. So what I'm saying here is that we can go 2 links wide. So it's actually gonna be pretty difficult for my opponent to actually stop the Deathly Whale trigger. Okay, so they're gonna take it. So none of this actually matters. So we could close the Chane right now if we really wanted to. So if we close the Chane, we end up with 1 Runechant. That's not bad, but like I don't really think it does much for us. I'm kind of leaning more towards sending the Spellblade Assault, giving it go again, and then maybe sending the Nebula Blade at the end. I think makes the most sense here. We'll come in for 4, and we'll go ahead activate Sucklifts here, activate Blossom. Unfortunately, this closes the Chane, so they get an extra block with the Beckoners, which would have been ideal to dodge if we could have. They have to pitch to prevent, and they're only going to block for 2. Do they just have a non-block in hands. So we always take those.